I was in Uganda for the first time on a donor relations trip. We were literally leaving the hospital on the way to the airport, and Dr. Lubega said, "You should stop by Blessed Child Foundation." So we said, okay. We went to Blessed Child Foundation, met Brian, met Peter. They took us on a tour, and we ended in Cathy's room. And I met Cathy laying on her abdomen with this huge tumor on her back, with a beautiful, beautiful smile on her face, and her mother, and found out that she'd been on her abdomen for 5 years, was supposed to have died several years before that, and all she could literally do was lay on her abdomen. She could use her arms, but nothing else. And I said to myself, Texas Children's Charity Committee, this is what they're known for, doing the thing that no one else in the world can do to completely change a child's life. And that's really where it all started.
January of 2019 was when I met Cathy originally. At first I thought, well, first of all, there's no way we can do this surgery in Uganda, that this would be one of the most difficult surgeries we could imagine, and there was no way we could safely do it there. So that was sort of the first decision. And then I started thinking, is it possible to do this in Houston? Throughout the spring, we started meeting on a regular basis here in Houston, planning what would be involved, what other images we needed.
When we sent here the scans and everything, I was like waiting, praying so hard that they will not tell me impossible word. And I heard that they said there is a possibility they can try what they can do. We started planning to come until 2019.
She arrived in November. It's freezing cold. She's from Uganda, which has the best weather in the entire world. And she's literally freezing. And her eyes are this big when we took her to her first room on 11, and she looked around the medical center. It was amazing. After she got here, she got to meet all of her surgeons. Each one of them had a conference with her to talk about what their part of the surgery would be.
Everyone thought, let's go ahead and let's do this. We have a good plan. We think we can do this. Each surgeon put together his or her plan, like for what they were actually going to have to do, and actually wrote down the steps. And then we met together and we coordinated how those would flow. And then we basically came to the conclusion that it would need to be a 3-day surgery.
The journey to the actual 3-day surgery was pretty incredible. So again, we started really planning in the months leading up to Cathy's arrival. And we planned out each step along the way. So the first step was, what did we have to accomplish once Cathy hit the door? So what kind of imaging studies did we need? Could we get a 3D print of the tumor in the pelvis done in time? And who did we need to engage to get that accomplished? And then as far as the surgery itself is concerned, we had both the sims, and we had a tabletop, and then an actual kind of in the OR simulation session where we went through this big procedure step by step and kind of went down the checkbox of what we wanted to accomplish each day and kind of the potential risks and potential problems we could run into each day. And I think that was really instrumental in the success of the 3-day case, because everyone involved in the case kind of was aware of what was happening, aware of what we wanted to accomplish, and they each brought their own experience to the table and posed different questions that maybe I wouldn't have thought of.
One of the huge advantages of TCH in terms of undertaking a surgery like this is we do have some experience with that, and primarily from conjoined twins, just because it's such a multidisciplinary surgery and the logistics are so complex.
Even with a tumor and a case that's kind of infinitely as complex as Cathy's was, you can always kind of break it down into parts. And when we sat down and looked at what we actually had to accomplish in the case, to me it was obvious we had kind of three main parts we could break the case down into. The first part being the kind of anterior dissection. So that was getting the major blood vessels and structures off of the front of the tumor. The next part was doing the posterior dissection, so getting around the tumor from the back, taking the tumor off of the spine. Instrumenting the spine to give her some stability, and then finally getting the tumor out. And then the third day was the reconstruction, where we got to take the graft that the plastic surgery team had gotten for us and use it to complete the pelvic ring and kind of rebuild a stable pelvis for her eventually to sit on. Being in orthopedic oncology, I deal with a lot of complexity, and every tumor I take out is different in its own way, and you have to plan for that. But this was, by far the biggest and most complex procedure I had been involved with because it involved so many teams. It really was a proud moment once we got the tumor out. Once we got the tumor out, it really represented kind of the culmination of all this planning and all this teamwork for us to accomplish this and do it safely and do it as we planned. As a tumor surgeon, when I get the tumor out, it's always a very exciting time for me because I feel like here's this thing that has taken so much from her life, and now it's out, and now she gets a new beginning.
I say, oh God, will there not be a day when I will wake up and find that there is no this tumor on my back? And finally the day comes, and when I wake up and find myself lying on my back, I was like in that dream. I was so happy, though I was feeling pain because of surgery. But really, it is like amazing. Sitting, even now that I am sitting, it is amazing. They did surgery on my hip bone, waist bone, pelvis, all of those. I've been on my spine. But if I am sitting now, it is just a miracle.
So with a big, complex procedure comes the risk of complications. And unfortunately, we faced some bumps in the road after we had the tumor out and got her reconstructed. The 3 days themselves went, pretty much as planned, step by step. However, about a week after the procedure, Cathy's blood pressure had dipped a little bit, and part of the reconstruction was a free tissue transfer. So we took some muscle and some skin along with the blood vessels from part of her leg to close kind of the space where the tumor was. That's a very delicate reconstruction, and so when her blood pressure dropped a little bit, some of that tissue started to die, and that's when she had to go take her first trip back to the operating room with myself and the plastic surgeons, and we really were focused on getting her healthy, getting any tissue that was no longer alive or viable out of her body, and washing everything out. And so she went for a few subsequent procedures to accomplish that, to make sure that she didn't get sick.
The biggest challenge really was supporting her circulation after the surgery. That following week, we had to take her back to the operating room, assess what the damage was from losing that blood vessel, and then ultimately put the plan into effect that we would use her other leg to reconstruct that dead area. And that was a very difficult decision. And I think that was, for most of us, probably just one of the most challenging times we'd ever had in professionally, and just in terms of what a big change of plan.
Once she was through with all the surgeries, the goal was to get her back facing the world again. She had been in one position for so long, took a lot of persistence and a lot of patience. And that's where the physical medicine and rehab doctors really came in and helped us.
When she first started to sit after her surgery, she looked at me and she said, I haven't seen this part of my body in all these years. So it's like the smallest thing became such a big thing to her.
And now here I am after many long time in ICU and everywhere. Now I am happy sitting in the not having pain, I feel good, no tumor anymore. And the tissue I have now today, it is a live tissue. That is what I thank God for. That today I have live tissue, not like abnormal tissue growing on my back. Now, I'm so thankful to God and to Texas children for taking really good care of me.
I was lucky enough to be contacted prior to her even arriving in the United States. We had Dr. Nuchtern and Dr. Dreyer had very clearly identified that if this procedure were to be successful, Cathy would need some help reintegrating into life. And so that was where I came in and having the discussions about how long would that take? What would it look like? We bounced around a lot of times from in a mobility standpoint from do we bring the chair to her and have her connected mostly to the chair, or do we provide her with a prosthesis that allows her to be in any chair or to be on any surface and continue to move through? We were blessed to be able to work with Jared Howell and his group, his prosthetics and orthotics group at Baylor College of Medicine, specifically on creating a special, truly unique prosthesis for Cathy. As far as general care for her, she had a lot of incisions, and we had to teach her and her mother how to care for her own incisions and care for her herself. All of these are new aspects of her body, in addition to accepting her new body image. So all of that fell into our team. One of our long-term goals for her is certainly for her to have a job. So what kind of skills could she use or could she need in the future? So we worked with her and worked with her on a typing class. So she had a keyboard and she has a goal of writing her own memoir. And that's fabulous. It's exactly what she should be doing. The first milestone that was occurring on our unit was on a Thursday morning. She got out of bed into her wheelchair and sat down with one of our care managers and put on makeup for the first time. She said it was the first time she felt like a human being again.
Our physical medicine rehabilitation team, it's unbelievable. It's just unbelievable what they've done.
I have mixed emotions. Like when I look at this, the pictures now, like the pictures that I was in 2016 and how I am now, I think I celebrate, I'm happy, And still feel like really emotional about how far I have been and how long I waited to get this, to have this surgery. I will be ready to go back to my country, and now I start seeing the future. Now I can, when I think now, I think for the future. I start thinking how I will be, what I will do, how like to love my body now, the body that I have. The second chance to live that I call it the second chance to live.
I think she has all the potential in the world, and she's got a new life before her. And I know that she is a special person, and she's going to make the most out of that. I'm just excited to hear what she does back in Uganda.
She's really got it down now on how to move around in the special prosthesis thing she sits in. And then, because unfortunately she had to lose both of her legs, they've never made anything like this before, so they made that specially for her. And then they were able to make these sort of foam legs for her when she's in the wheelchair, so no one even knows that she doesn't have her legs. And I think cosmetically and from her sort of aesthetic feelings, that really has helped her.
The sky's the limit for Cathy, and as she continues to move forward, her arms are going to be strong enough to help her move around to any surface. Her prosthesis that's with her that has about a 10 to 15 year half-life on it because of the materials it was made from, should last for quite a while. So as she goes back to Uganda, I see no limits. I really see no limits for her.
It's just always very inspiring to talk to Cathy because, you know, we all bring our own perspective to things, but Cathy's perspective is that she's been given an opportunity to live life in a meaningful way without pain and to be a positive influence on other people, which is really her goal. Her goal really is to inspire others with her story.
As I have been through a lot in being sick and all kind of pain I have been through, I would like to be like social worker or work with people like patient kids, like sick kids, like make them see the right side, the positive side.
You know, I told Cathy from the beginning, before the surgery stuff even started, that I thought she can do with her life whatever she wants to do with her life. And I think that that's what's going to happen. I think she's going to come back to Uganda. I think she's going to become a spokesperson who will instill power and strength in others who are suffering as she had.
Working at TCH, you kind of assume that these amazing things are routine, but in fact, because of all the skills that people bring to work and the attitude people bring to work, we're able to accomplish these things.
She's just completely joyful. We will be so sad when she leaves, but hopefully I'm going to be back in Uganda before too long and be able to see her there.
I think that was the true magic of this case. It was the team that came together and the different viewpoints of everyone and what they brought to the table to make this big, complex operation successful.
We do complex surgeries all the time, not quite as complex as Cathy's, I would say, but we do, we're called upon to do the most difficult surgeries.
Everybody that's here works together to do the very best thing for the children that they can, and that's what it took for her. She needed that entire team, not just doctors, not just nurses, but everybody else that helped her.
All of the work that's been done here is groundbreaking. I am unaware of anything that occurred with Cathy that didn't have to be built from scratch. We made a custom surgery for her We made a custom rehabilitation for her. We made a custom prosthesis. These things don't exist in anywhere else in the world.
The unique aspect of Texas Children's, there's not another hospital in this country that would have done this for her. There's not another hospital in the world that would have done this for her. And she's had her life transformed because of really the generosity of Texas Children's and the love of all of those around her that really helped her to heal.